Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Unbearable 73. I'm trying something new here. I'm going to sort of spot my way through some of the video and not like, just to point out a few things if I can catch it. So it is. So it's. Let me know if you think it's a little better. If I could refine this approach. I want to be a little more interactive. Not just read stuff to you, unless it's a short read or whatever. So we'll see how it works out. I'm always working trying to improve the quality of the entertainment from Unbearable 73. So it's time for episode 2 of season 1 of 30 Coins. This episode is titled "The Ouija," as in the Ouija board or Ouija board, or there's a couple different ways to say it. Our opening scene is in the Vatican. We see a priest walk into a cardinal. I will attempt. Does it work? Yeah. So that's back here. This is the previous episode. Blah blah blahs. Yeah, this is the priest walking in on the cardinal. He says they discuss the coin in Father Vergara's possession. We learned there are at least so far 2 opposing camps, and Father Vergara is with neither side. We also learned this cardinal wants Father Vergara to give them the coin, right? Then our next scene is Paco and Elena. Right, there they are. It's Paco and Elena. And then we go into our opening song, opening theme. Right. So Paco and Elena, they're talking about the difference in how they interpret the supernatural events that they both experiences. Elena's basically all in, right? Whereas Paco seems to be trying to rationalize his way out of it. Personally, while I understand Paco's stance, Elena seems to be far and away the best way to deal with what's happening so far. Dangers don't go away because you stick your head in the sand. And finally, we see Father Vergara working out trouble in the heavy bag, right? Then we do the theme song or whatever. Let's do a little background on what the Ouija board is, right? The term Ouija board is a brand name for, I forgot who it is, Hasbro or whoever, or Milton Bradley, but basically spirit boards have been around for 200-300 years or more, right? They're a phenomenon of the Elizabethan age, so to speak, the Gothic stuff, all the sort of like middle and upper class supernatural experimentation and all that, right? It's a Hasbro trademark now, right? It's not a real word. The creator claimed it came from one of his early uses of the board. It was the first word the spirit spelled out, which is nonsense, right? Popular belief attributes the term to the French and German words for yes. Oui and ja. Ouija. Yes. Right? The concept of spirit boards, as I said, has been around since the year 1000 AD. Basically, you put letters, numbers, and common words like yes and no on the board, and then use spiritual techniques to attempt to engage in what the occult calls automatic writing. The particular rules of how a spirit board is used vary by occult practice. Okay? So that's your Ouija board history. After the opening scene, we meet a new character, Rocio. It's a weeping angel. That's Rocio right there. And he seems to be Elena's current significant other. For reference purposes, it's been alluded to constantly that Elena's husband disappeared under mysterious circumstances before the show began. We don't know how far before the show began. Rocio is also Elena's employer, and he had previously run against Paco for mayor. I don't know if they're saying Rocio was the previous mayor and Paco beat him, or they both ran for the open spot. I don't know which way they interpret that yet. I get the impression this town is loaded with rich people who have houses there. Rocio also seems to be descended from old Spanish royalty. The showrunners do a great job planting a deep background of the various characters and history of the town. Right. After that, we get into our town's main plot that involved the Ouija board. Several of the youths from Pedraza, which is the name of the town, are converging on a grave in the cemetery. And of course, after establishing that one of the youths has a mother who committed suicide, we learn the name of the entity that they're communicating with. It claims to be named Giacomo. That's the name of the person who died in Father Vergara's exorcism, for which he was arrested in Paris. And then Sole, we'll show you who Sole is, right? We have to get to that exorcism. That's Soleil. And so disappears. She just in the middle of the Ouija thing of the Ouija session, when someone removes their hand from the glass jar or whatever, she just disappears in the thin air. Now at this point we get to the mechanics episode. Police investigation goes nowhere since we the audience know supernatural event. Since the police are looking for a non-supernatural explanation. The show seems to have established a layered plot structure, like I mentioned earlier in the first episode review, where one plot leads to the next. Deeper, larger plot rather than run characters with multiple concurrent subplots. I like that. I like that a lot. With that, all I've talked about, there's roughly 20 minutes of the hour run in length. I'm not going to do a play-by-play, but so far through 3 episodes, I've seen the 3rd episode, and yes, I've watched the first 2 episodes of doing this review. The plot, execution, and build are masterful. One other thing to know is that Elena, as part of the long-term plot, is trying to figure out what the coin is. There seems to be something about these coins where regular human just taking it from another human is not something that those know what to do. So it's not depicted how, for example, it's not depicted that way specifically, but it reminds me how Peter Jackson depicted the One Ring, how its presence can be felt all around it. Right? It's hard to describe, to be honest, but it's a noticeable effect. In this episode, it continues to have a sort of subtle romantic tension between Paco and Elena. I hope that goes nowhere. I like the fact that Paco and Elena have separate lives. This episode also raised the paranoia levels over Elena and Father Vergara's roles in the supernatural mental community quite a lot, as both of them are being accused of faking supernatural stuff for their own agendas. This episode also does the same thing the first one did, which resolve the opening plot and have it move into a second main plot rather than the usual parallel junk. I hope it keeps that approach. The young actress who plays Soleil, Carla Toots, does a great job. She's the center of attention in this episode, and rightly so. And lastly, they've established in this episode that this town is very closely knit. This episode is even better than the first one, so 9 out of 10. You all should be watching it. Thanks for watching my video. Smash the like button if you liked it. Hit dislike if you didn't. Comment down below if you have any questions for me about this video. Excuse me. Please share the video if you found it worthwhile. I'm Matt. This has been an episode of Unbearable 73. Have a nice day, and I am out of here.